Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the VIA in Action podcast. My name is Ed Masterson. I'm honored to be hosting these podcast episodes, and thanks to all of you that are checking us out. We appreciate that. VIA stands for the Valley Industry Association. And speaking of that organization, today we have with us the boss lady of the organization, our CEO, Ms. Kathy Norris. Kathy, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Ed. Much appreciated.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us. You are so well known in Santa Clarita, I almost feel like I don't need to introduce you, but I want to make sure that everybody understands the amazing longevity and the phenomenal career you've had with this organization, VIA, or the Valley Industry Association. I think it is a remarkable career here in town. And I would like for you to sort of, well, first of all, the organization is a member business organization. We're involved with so many things here in town, and we have great partners. But I wanted to go back to the beginning of when you first started out with VIA, and then sort of walk us through that, because I think it's an interesting story.
Maybe it is. We'll see. My gosh, that was a long time ago, almost 31 years ago. So I came to work for VIA. It was a part-time job. It was an administrative position. I thought, I'll work here 6 or 8 months, and so maybe it's going to stick. It's been, but kind of progressed through the ranks there. But it was a much smaller organization at that point. They had a couple hundred members, and they did monthly luncheons, and that's really kind of what they did, just to acquaint the businesses with what was going on, make sure that they had relevant information, if there were any issues going on. Mostly, within the Valencia Industrial Center. We were kind of centered just in that part then. But this is so long ago that email had just been, kind of widely used through businesses, and it was all still dial-up. So the way we communicated with our members at that point was U.S. mail or by fax, which was very tedious. So, it doesn't seem like we could have progressed that far in that amount of time, but we sure have.
So how many years... So when VIA was founded, in what year? I want to say like
1981. 1981.
Okay. Yeah. And then, again, many of the people watching this will know the name Connie Warden Roberts.
Absolutely. My mentor.
Fantastic. Yeah. Again, community leader and icon for sure over the years. So VIA was founded in 81, when did you start up with the organization?
1995.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it had existed for a while already. I don't think they had an office presence. I think that it was a lot of volunteer activity. They had somebody that wrote newsletters for them once a month. But I think I was the actual first employee that ever worked for VIA. Okay.
So when I first came to work in Santa Clarita, which was in 1999, the office was located in the Industrial Center. And it was you and Connie there at that time, as well as some other offices in that same building. Was it was Connie the one that did the interviewing of you when it was time to get the job?
So this is kind of an interesting story too, because I was expecting, it was a part-time job. And so I went in to be interviewed, and I thought it was going to be a one-on-one, but VIA's entire executive board was in there interviewing me for this 20-hour-a-week position, which was kind of shocking. And, not being as outgoing as a lot of people are, it was kind of a tough interview. But they were nice people, but there were 6 of them in there. So
what profession were you coming from when you applied for that job?
A whole different thing. I had a career in title insurance that I'd worked in for, I think, 11, 12 years, and decided that I needed a change. So I thought, well, I'll just try this out for a little bit until I decide what direction I want to go. That's
great. That's a great transition story. And yeah, again, we could talk about Connie forever. She's such a great mentor, as you said, to me as well when I was in that same building. So tell us a little bit about, and I'm always hesitant with people that have had such amazing duration of a career, because sometimes jokingly they say, "Oh, you're making me sound old," because I've been around for a long time. But you have been around for a long time, and successfully around for such a long time. And you're such a great community leader. What is it, after all these years of working in the community for an organization like VIA, which, and again, to explain to some folks who may not be familiar with it, VIA is, of course, focused on benefiting the business community, but we also have tentacles out into the philanthropic and nonprofit community as well, because Santa Clarita is such a generous community. Kathy, after all this time working for an organization like VIA, and all the challenges that come with any organization over the years, what is it sort of that you would attribute, in your mind, the things that kind of keep you energized and being the person that really is the leader of this organization for so long? Because the reality is, as great as board members come and go over the years, and you need somebody who is sort of the constant face of the organization and the leader of that group. So what is it that allows you to sort of keep going all these years?
I think it's kind of two things. One, it's the people I worked with, which would be the board members, and just the members of the business community here. I had not been exposed to that as many years as I lived in California, so it was an amazing experience to see how active that community here. When my former job, I would drive out of my garage in the morning into my garage at night. So that was really refreshing to see people that invested in each other's success. And I think really that's it right there, is that investment in making sure that everybody grows and prospers. So that was kind of a big deal to me. And then I think the work was just interesting. Every time, I get bored at about 5 years, so 5 years in, I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe there's something, and then something would change so incredibly. 5 years in, we created the Connecting to Success program.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, this could sustain me forever, with how interested I am in that. But about every 2 to 5 years, something new would come along that just, renewed my interest in what I was doing.
Yeah, you're right, though. That is sort of the great cycles, like kind of in The Lion King, the circle of life. Just when things seem to be plateauing, something new comes along to re-energize people, or challenge us, or both, right? That's kind of the way things go. And I know your kids, you and your husband, Tim, you raise your kids out here in Santa Clarita, right? So was that something over the years because when you first started with VIA, you didn't have kids at that point, right?
No, I did. My girls were born. I had my son after I came to work for VIA. Our sons are the same age.
That's right. So, That's right. We've had a great time having our kids grow up in Santa Clarita, but all the things that we talk about that makes the quality of life in Santa Clarita so great, one of those things is always mentioned is education. And that's been for us a true thing for us. Same for you as well?
Same, absolutely. For us, my daughters both went to Valencia High School, and my son went to West Ranch. So two different experiences from, kind of two different points of view. But the education program up here was wonderful for all of them. Even my son, who was a little bit more of a reluctant student, but you know what? It served them all well and got them on the right track. And you know what? All we can hope for is that they're all going to be wonderful contributing adults out in the world. And you know what? That's what I got. So I'm a happy mom.
No, that's a great track record. 3
for 3, right? There were moments of doubt in there, but
no, that's so great. And I think that speaks to one of the great partnerships we have with the William S. Hart Union High School District, as well as College of the Canyons. The program that we do with them on an annual basis, our Connecting to Success program. You mentioned it earlier. For those who don't know what it is, Connecting to Success is a workforce readiness program for high school juniors in the William S. Hart Union High School District. We just celebrated our 20th year, or am I wrong? Are we going into 21?
We're going into our 23rd year.
23rd year of providing this program. And let me let you talk about it a little bit, because you'll have more nuances to it than I'll remember. I'll accidentally forget some things. Talk about the Connecting to Success.
Connecting to Success is a workforce readiness program initially designed for high school juniors because they were getting their first jobs, their first bank accounts, and sometimes sadly their first credit cards. But it shares professional skills that they need to successfully enter the world of work, like written and verbal communication, financial literacy. We did a section on ethics in the workplace. I think you and I taught that together one year. Working in teams, navigating communication, a whole bunch of other things, decision-making skills. But I think the beauty of the program is that it's delivered to the students by business professionals from this valley. So it makes more impact than their mom and dad telling them, you need to do this, or their teacher. It's somebody who could be their employer in the future. And I think that really makes the program work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the interesting combination of high school junior students and business community leaders, having that combination and that pairing during the program is great, because you're right. Some of those business community leaders end up being mentors for some of those exact same students.
They do.
When they start coming out of school. And the other thing I love about Connecting to Success is, as the name implies, it is not just about connecting to college. It's about connecting to success, whatever that's going to mean in the lives of those students. And whether that's going to some type of job or profession right out of high school, or whether it means going to community college and then on to a 4-year college, straight to a 4-year college, going to work in the family business, whatever it means. I think I like the fact and the idea that we've now opened up a lot more minds to the idea that there are multiple ways for success to be achieved, especially in today's world, to where not everybody has to follow the same path. And I think we do a good job with that program of illuminating that for people and reminding students, you're not here just to be pushed into college. If that's
Exactly.
your thing, great. If not, you have lots of other options. And I think in today's world, students are very they've got a lot of initiative and great ideas on their own, given how much information they're able to obtain on their own at younger ages than like when we were in school. So I think it's a great program. I can't say enough good things about it also. And I'm pleased to know that we're going into our 23rd year, which is phenomenal. It's a great
Yeah.
partnership.
We added a new component to the program last year, which I think you know about. We have a good, close relationship with a lot of agencies that place uniquely abled adults into the workforce. So we did a specialized program for about 50 or 55 of those folks last year, which was wildly successful. The participation level was kind of off the charts, and it was just really a pleasure. Watching, folks gain so much from what we were trying to deliver with the program so that they could be more successful with their futures. So hoping to be able to continue that and kind of move that program in other directions as well, maybe even a trickle down to the junior high program.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal also. Because at junior high level, I'm thinking back when our kids were in junior high, there is sort of the formulation of what they might want to do. There's at least identified interest in their lives at that point, especially again in today's world with all the access to information. So that's fantastic. That's great. I know VIA provides a lot of networking opportunities for people that are members as well. Talk about some of the networking things that the organization does.
Well, we have a regular monthly luncheon meeting where we have a speaker. So, there's some networking that's available at that, but I think the place where you really, do the most networking would be at our evening events, which would be ones we call After Five that we do once a month, hosted by a member company so that we can showcase them a little bit. But it's a wonderful opportunity, kind of an after hours sort of thing, where in a more casual environment where people can network with each other. And then we also have another one called Cocktails and Conversation, where we typically host a legislator or sometimes city officials, where it's a smaller group, 35, 40 people, but it's a nice opportunity for them to get to know that individual better. And, thank you for being so kind to host those for us and make sure that that person feels comfortable. But they're remarkable. I mean, we get to know these people and understand their thought process, the things that they like to do, and, why they are so invested in Santa Clarita. So those are kind of special.
Yeah, I do love those as well. It's and when we started them way back when, the thought was to allow, members of the general public to get to know their legislators on a more personal level versus just sort of seeing them from afar doing their job. And the reminder to me, one of the most important reminders about that program that I like is it's a reminder to all of us that even though they are in elected office, and that carries massive responsibility no matter what level of elected office you serve in, that they are still members of the community, and they also have families and things that they're involved in, the same things that all of us are involved in. So It's a great reminder that that they are people as well, and they need our support in compassion in a variety of ways, and vice versa.
It's interesting how open they are too, because I think that when you first are introduced to an elected official, you try and be as respectful as possible, and maybe are even feeling a little intimidated because this person is in a place of authority. But you know what? They're just human beings, and they really do want to hear from us. They want to represent their constituents, and the best way to do that is to talk to them. So
yeah, we're very lucky. I always say this because it's true. We're lucky that our elected officials make themselves very available to us on a regular basis, which is great. It's a nice touch that they are so open and willing to sit down and talk to groups and things like that. Is pretty fantastic. What are some of the cool things that you have seen over the years, just here in the community, just, trends or things that made you kind of perk up and say, oh, that's good. That's a new direction we're going in with the stuff in the business community or with the nonprofit organizations that we work with. And also I should mention, VIA is a membership organization, but we do offer a nonprofit membership rate to organizations that might.
we do. We have a nonprofit rate, and we have a good portion of the nonprofits here in town that are members of the organization. We have a lot in common with them. VIA is a nonprofit, but we also have a nonprofit education foundation for which we raise money for our education programs. But that offers a kind of a cool opportunity for nonprofits to bounce ideas off of each other, to share resources, to talk about issues. And And that's turned out to be something very beneficial, to meet with others in kind of a similar position that are having the same kind of issues and struggles and try and work out solutions.
Yeah, and the Education Foundation, I mean, that's also an extra piece separate from the regular VIA organization, because VIA itself is a 501c6 organization, the foundation 501c3. But the money that gets raised by that foundation goes towards our Connecting to Success program. So we're always, doing the best we can to keep that up and running. It's a great program, Connecting to Success, and all the other things you mentioned as well, the after fives, cocktails and conversations. Some of my favorite ones we do, not quite as often, are the get acquainted breakfasts that we do with people for new members or existing members who haven't had a chance yet to come in and get as much information. So tell us a little bit about those.
Those are actually a lot of fun for us because it's kind of a 50-50 crowd, prospective members and those who are relatively new, some that we're trying to get re-engaged.
Right.
But they're always very animated once we get going. It's kind of a competition between our committee chairs too, to kind of attract those folks into to some serious volunteerism. But it gives everyone in the room a chance to introduce themselves too. And typically, once the program and those is over, no one leaves.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're done. Thank you so much for coming. And for the next hour, there's a tremendous amount of brand new networking going on. So we do those 2-3 times a year, and they're actually a lot of fun.
They are a lot of fun. You're right. They're the only downside is most people have to get to work somewhere. So, but otherwise they stay there all morning and talk. Right? It's great. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. One of the things, and again, I'll give you credit for this because you are the the actual permanent leader. May not be the right word, but it's true. You are sort of that constant face and leadership element to the organization. But the thing I love about VIA, which is so great, and this is a large part due to your leadership that trickles down to all of us, is that the organization is very welcoming and inclusive, to use a word that we use nowadays. But VIA has been inclusive ever since I first became acquainted with it, right? So that's been a tenet of the organization forever. But you make sure that it's a very welcoming and respectful and appreciative organization. You are so great at when it comes to, for the events that we do, and we have sponsors, luckily, to have a lot of our events, about crafting these great sponsorship packages for people that want to be part of an event. You do a really, really good job of fine-tuning that and customizing it to the needs of that organization, which I've always admired about you, because you do a really nice job with that. And the other thing is, you're just a really great presence for the organization. And again, I think leadership starts at the top. It trickles down to all of us that are on the board, and it informs like how we react with people as well. And it's a very friendly organization. And we are, I think, not ever hard sell about becoming a member. We, of course, want people to become members because we feel like it's great for them as well. They get a lot of benefit out of it. But I think we're a very friendly, easygoing place. I know we joke around a little bit, say we're kind of like Cheers, right?
Like Cheers,
where everybody knows your name and they're happy to see you when you come in. But that's great, Kathy. And a lot of that, most of that is due to you, because you kind of create that vibe from the top down. So that's credit to you for doing
Thank you for saying that. And, that's kind of a focus of mine also. Came from a background, painfully shy, where, almost to the point of being withdrawn. And so when I came to work for VIA, I had to get over that, which was really difficult. But it's hard to walk into a room full of business leaders the first time, no matter who you are.
Sure.
So I want to make sure that those folks feel welcome and that they want to come back again afterwards, because I know how that feels, and I don't want anyone to say this was so intimidating. I never want to try this again.
No, you're right. I think not being somebody that is shy about going into rooms. I'm talking about myself now, but I do recognize that in people, and you're right. Like, it is very nice to be welcomed and remembered back. If you can come back to another event, that's a great feeling, to walk into a room and people remember you from meeting you before.
Yeah, and to be recognized when you do come back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice to see you again, because that is important to us. We want to help continue to build those connections for those people. So we want them to come back. We want to know who they are when they come in the door. And I think that really helps, that they are feeling that welcome, that they are a critical part of the organization.
I agree. And one of the ways people, like, if they, can venture in and get involved in the group, we have several committees, lots of committees that people can get involved in based on their interest. And that's a great way for people also to sort of get to know people even a little bit better. And so tell us about some of the committees.
That's the best way to get involved in the organization, to kind of, get the return that you're looking for. We've got a lot of committees. We have membership, marketing, BASH, workforce development, education. I'm leaving out half of them, I'm sure. But all of them meet on a monthly basis. They have chairpersons that work with them, and they all have missions and projects and things that they're trying to accomplish. So if you try one out and it doesn't seem like a good fit, try another one. There's
Right.
going to be a great fit for you within the organization so that you can contribute, but so you can also kind of, you've made an investment. And so you want that return on investment, but you have to get involved for that to happen.
Kathy, one of the things also, you talked about when you came to VIA, you were mentored by Connie Warden Roberts. We have working for you a young lady who I think is just so great. She's a member of the JCI chapter here in the Santa Clarita Valley. Again, for those who may not know what that is, it's Junior Chamber International. So JCI Santa Clarita, fantastic group of professionals. Most of them are younger generation professionals. And the young lady that works with us at VIA for Kathy, Ilana, is absolutely fantastic. I love seeing the mentoring that you're doing with Ilana. It kind of reminds me of,
Of Connie when I
mentoring.
first started.
Talk
exactly.
about how great our relationship is with JCI and how much we value that.
We have a fabulous relationship with JCI, and it's honestly something that I have been working on for a number of years, and finally has started coming to fruition. But it's twofold, honestly. We've got a lot of young leaders who are coming into the organization, which is super desirable. But at the same time, we learn a lot from them. They do business in a different way. They grew up in a different time. They access social media differently. And it's things that folks in my age group could really use a little shot in the arm about. So, I feel like we're helping each other a little bit in that respect, but remarkable younger leaders. And I'm glad to see them at the table. We've got a couple on our board. And then, let me give kudos to the amazing Ilana as well. It's been a delight working with her. I hope she stays with me forever.
I think we all feel the same way. Ilana's great. Yeah, she's fantastic. And she is such a great example of the great young leaders that come out of JCI. And that's not to take anything away from her on her own. She probably would be that without being a member of JCI. But they are so great about just continuing to turn out these fantastic young leaders. And you're right. We're lucky to have Ilana.
We are very fortunate.
Yeah.
Very fortunate to have them, as a very close partner.
What are some things, when you were mentioning the committees, you mentioned the BASH committee.
The BASH.
People may not know what the BASH is. Tell us about that.
The VIA Bash is an annual fundraising event that we do twofold. One, it raises money also for Connecting to Success, but really it's a great opportunity for us to recognize members of distinction. So we have offered special awards in Volunteer of the Year. We've done Rising Star on occasion, a Business of the Year, specialized awards. We've recognized some, really significant legislators, some folks within the school district. So it's just a really nice evening of recognition with a fun theme.
Right.
Coming into a new one this year, Boots and Bow Ties, the Cowboy Ball. So this is typically kind of a black tie preferred event.
Right.
We've done a Fire and Ice Ball. We did a Ruby Ball for our 40th anniversary. But it's a nice opportunity for everybody to kind of get dressed up and then just come and have a great time, get some entertainment, have some good food, a couple of cocktails, which never hurts anything. Am I supposed to say that?
Sure. It's great. I think we already have another event called Cocktails and Conversation.
I guess it's okay then. But it's a beautiful evening where once folks come, they're just there to have a good time and to help us celebrate some of the successes we've made and the folks that have helped us do it.
Yeah, it is always a great time. And you're right. It is a cool celebration of thanking people and appreciating the people in the world that help the organization, and then the trickle down effect of all the individuals that make up organizations, right?
Because you've been one of those folks before.
I have, I know. I'm always mystified how I get one of those things. But,
come on.
I'm very appreciative of the kindness of that award, especially because it was called the Connie Warden Roberts Volunteer of the Year Award.
That means a lot.
It means a lot to me for sure. Connie was, as same with you, a mentor and somebody who I a lot of times wish we still had her with us. She'd be great.
A remarkable lady.
Yeah, she was.
A remarkable lady, really, I think pushed to get me connected. Because, I had no idea what I was doing, but so, she mentored me above and beyond, honestly. But, after a while, you have such a close personal relationship with that person too, just someone that I really valued having in my life. She was incredible.
Yeah, I always say about Connie, she was being involved in a lot of committee meetings that she chaired, like transportation committee meetings and things of that nature. She was always the smartest person in the room, but always the most humble. Like she never sort of lorded over anybody for knowledge, but she was always the smartest person in the
And
room.
brilliant.
Yeah,
she was brilliant.
She was great, but very, very encouraging and bringing people up and mentoring, all the things you talked about, which made her such a great person. She's amazing. So,
Right.
Kathy, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to put you on the spot to come back again for another few episodes if you
Well,
don't mind.
thank you for inviting me, and I would be delighted to do that.
That would be great. Thank you. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. And don't forget, you can find us on the VIA YouTube channel. You can also find us on some other social media platforms that I'm not remembering at the moment. If you liked what you saw today, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.